So we have learned about mutual inductance, and we have learned that the coefficient of mutual inductance for both the coils remains same. Why it was so? Because the area pi r1 square was common. Even the bigger solenoid has an area bigger than this, but the common area was that because of small solenoid, so that was common, and because of that this mutual induction coefficients were equal. And when we insert some other kind of material instead of air or vacuum, so we get mutual inductance equal to mu r mu naught n1 n2 pi r1 square, where r1 is radius for the small coil, l is length. So this is that we get. Now let us see one example. So example 6.9. Two concentric circular coils, one of small radius r1 and another of large radius r2. So one has radius r1, another one has r2, such that r1 is less than r2. So one is very small, another one is quite big, are placed coaxially with centers coinciding. Obtain the mutual inductance of this arrangement. So we have to calculate what is the mutual inductance. So we have two circular coils, both are concentric, that means their center is coinciding. So let us say this is a small coil, okay. So this is one smaller radius r1, this is for bigger radius, and as we can see from this figure, this r1 is very less than r2. So this is the condition. Now we have to solve. Now let a current I2 flow through the outer circular coil. So this is, let us name this S2, this is S1. So current I2 is flowing through the outer circular coil. The field at the center of coil is equal to, B is equal to mu 0 I2 upon 2 R2. So see, this magnetic field is for the loop. This is for the loop, at the center of a loop, because this is not a solenoid. So we use the formula that we have learned at the center, mu naught I upon 2R. We have learned this formula at the center, mu naught I upon 2R. So this is the formula we are using. So mu naught is same, current is I2. Now we are seeing this at this center to R2, radius of this bigger coil is R2. Since the other coaxially placed coil has a very small radius, B2 may be considered constant over its cross sectional area. Since this area is very small, this area is very small in comparison to this bigger area, so we can consider that B2 is constant in this area. So magnetic field in this small area is constant, that we have considered. B2 may be considered constant. Now in this case, over this cross sectional area we have now flux associated. Flux is area into magnetic field. So area for this small coil is pi r1 square into magnetic field because of this bigger solenoid. So now let us put all the values. This pi r1 square into mu naught I2 upon 2R2. Let us put all these values. So this pi r1 square and this B2 is equal to mu naught I2 upon 2R2. Okay. So we get mu naught pi r1 square, this is here, I2 is the current and 2R2. So this is we get, and this must be equal to M1 to I2, that means mutual inductance in coil 1 due to current in 2. So this is converting in this constant M12 is converting this current into flux into coil number 1. Now let us see, thus let us compare. So I2 gets cancelled out. So what is M12 is equal to mu naught pi r1 square upon 2R2. This is the mutual inductance coefficient. Now again we know that both are similar. M12 is equal to M21. This is also same, mu naught pi r1 square upon 2 r2. So both will remain same. Why? Because the area is common. The common area remains same, that means the area of smaller coil. Note that we have calculated M12, this we have calculated from approximate value of phi 1, assuming that the magnetic field B2 be uniform over the whole area. So this is an approximation. What is the approximation? That magnetic field in that whole area, which is a smaller area, is constant. However, we can accept this answer because R1 is very less in comparison to R2. So this is why we can accept this answer. Now let us recollect experiment 6.3 in section 6.2. In that experiment, EMF is induced in coil C1 wherever there was any change in the current through coil C2. So what was this experiment 6.3? Experiment 6.3 was when we have some kind of key mechanism. So this EMF is induced in coil C1 whenever there was change in current through coil C2. So we were changing current using the key, current is switched on or switched off, and there is EMF induced in coil 1. Let phi 1 be the flux through coil C1, let us say n number of turns when current is in coil C2 is I2. Let us put it like this. So this is coil C1, okay, this is coil C2. Now current in this coil C2 is I2, some current is flowing, we have connected this with the battery. So we have connected this with the battery and current is flowing into this. This current is I2. Now we have flux associated with first coil, that flux is, this is C1, flux associated will be phi 1. And this coil C1 has number of turns, total number of turns N1. Now let us see, N1 into phi 1 is equal to Mi2, because till now we have learned that mutual induction coefficient will remain same, whether this is M21 or M12, this will remain same. So N1 into phi 1 is equal to M into I2, because what we have learned? We have learned phi is proportional to I. If there are n turns, n phi is proportional to I, and what is the constant of proportionality? M. Now for currents varying with time, now what we are doing? If the current is varying with time, how this current is varying? This current is not constant, but we are switching it off or switching it on. Now another way of varying current, if we get this type of current, sinusoidal current, okay, so this is a sinusoidal current. If you see, as the time passes, this is also varying, this is not constant. Which type of currents are constant? Suppose if this is the time and we have a DC current, so DC current is always constant, but an AC current is fluctuating with time. So AC current is a sine wave. So we have some kind of current that is varying with time, either AC current or we are switching it on or off. So now let us differentiate both the sides. So this side d upon dt with respect to time we are differentiating. N1 phi 1 is equal to d upon dt Mi2. So we have put the differential. Now since the induced EMF in coil C1 is given by, so what is the induced EMF? Induced EMF is epsilon 1 minus d upon dt N1 phi 1, and you know this n is a constant, so this comes out of this differential. So we get minus N1 d phi 1 upon dt. So this will come out of this N1, since number of turns in coil is not changing, this will come out of this differential. So what we get? We get from this side, again this m is also a constant, so what we get? We get epsilon 1 is equal to minus m di2 upon dt, because m is also a constant. Now it shows that varying current in a coil can produce EMF in a neighboring coil. So experiment 6.3 that we have learned, that when we were switching on or off, this key was switching on or off, so there was some current produced in this coil C1. So what was reason behind that? That reason we have learned here, that when the current is changing with time, so how we are changing the current with time? So either there is an AC current, so this is changing with time, or what we can do, so we have a switch, so increase, then 0, then 0, increase, then 0, increase, 0. So this is on position of the switch, and this is off position. So this is also varying with time. As time passes, we switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, we are switching on and off. So current is changing with time, and that change in current is producing the EMF. The magnitude of the induced EMF depends on the rate of change. So here you can see rate of change. If that current is changing fast, if it's changing much fast, then this differential will be higher, and hence we get more EMF. So this is depends on rate of change of the current and the mutual inductance of two coils. So what are two factors that is affecting this EMF? Mutual inductance between two coils and this rate of change of current.